Leah Monroe's heart pounded in her chest as she paced her tiny studio apartment. A soft glow from the lone lamp on her nightstand cast flickering shadows over the designs pinned to her walls, her dream of becoming a top fashion designer. Tonight, however, her focus was on love, not fabric. On a small coffee table in front of her lay a velvet box containing a ring, gleaming under the light. Her best friend, Tiana, had spent all afternoon trying to calm Leah's nerves over the phone. "You've got this, girl," Tiana had reassured. "You and Jace have been together for 3 years. He loves you." Yet Leah couldn't ignore the swirl of butterflies in her stomach. Proposing to him first felt both bold and a little old-fashioned, but she was done waiting. She wanted Jace Turner to know she believed in their future. Gathering her courage, Leah stepped into the crisp evening air. It was a chilly night, and the wind nipped at her cheeks, but she was determined. She slipped into Jace's favorite diner, that quaint spot on the corner where they'd had their first date. The neon sign buzzed overhead, the pink lettering reflecting in the puddles at her feet. She tightened her coat around her shoulders and walked in, scanning the booths. At a table near the back, she saw Jace scrolling through his phone. He looked up, gave a casual wave, and motioned her over. Leah took a deep breath as she approached. She recalled every precious memory they'd shared, the spontaneous road trip to the beach last summer, the quiet mornings sipping coffee in her apartment while she sketched designs and he teased her about her impractical dream to conquer the fashion world. But despite his teasing, Leah loved him, or so she believed. "Hey, babe," Jace said, glancing at her with a warm smile. "You okay? You look a little tense." Leah slipped into the booth across from him, tucking the ring box into the pocket of her coat. She tried to steady her hands by clasping them under the table. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "Just have something on my mind." He laughed softly. "I can see that. Want to order first?" "No," she managed, forcing a small smile. "Let's talk." In that moment, she resolved not to let her nerves ruin everything. This was her love story, and she was ready to write the next chapter herself. Leah hadn't planned a grand spectacle, no flashy lights or hidden confetti. She simply wanted honesty, raw and real. So, in the quiet hum of the half-empty diner, she took a deep breath and slipped the small velvet box onto the table. Jace raised an eyebrow, sliding his phone aside. "What is that?" he asked, though suspicion danced across his face. Leah opened the box, revealing the silver band with a delicate stone. I want to spend the rest of my life with you," she said in one hurried breath. "I know it's unconventional, but I love you, Jace. I'm done waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect ring. This is the moment." For a beat, Jace froze. He stared at Leah, then at the ring. Leah's pulse drummed in her ears. The overhead lights buzzed. The waitress, balancing a tray of fries, did a double take but continued on. Time seemed suspended. Then Jace laughed. Not a gentle, disbelieving chuckle, this was an abrupt, derisive bark of laughter that turned heads in the diner. Leah felt her cheeks burn. "Wait, you're proposing to me?" he said, amusement mingling with contempt. "Leah, this is unbelievable. You can't even lock down a real job, and here you are asking me to marry you?" She felt tears prick the corners of her eyes but fought them back. I'm about to start a new internship," she tried to explain, wanting to share her good news. But he cut her off. "You're still chasing those ridiculous fashion dreams." Jace snorted, flipping his phone in his hand. "How many times have I told you, Leah? You're not going to make it big. The industry is cutthroat. Let's face it, you're not strong enough for that kind of life." Silence wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. Leah's throat constricted, and the ring, once so carefully chosen, now felt like a foolish symbol of misplaced hope. "Jace," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You don't believe in me at all, do you?" He shrugged. "I'm being realistic," he said, matter of fact. Unlike you. Look, I don't want to be tied down to someone who can't even guarantee a stable future. Also, let's be real, proposing in a diner with a cheap ring? That's your grand plan? In that moment, Leah recognized the depth of his disdain. Every dream she'd nurtured, every moment she'd believed in their relationship, wavered on the edge of collapse. She closed the ring box slowly. If that's how you feel, I understand, she said softly, fighting back tears. Thank you, for being honest. Jace shrugged again, indifferent. The final blow, you'll never amount to anything, Leah. Don't say I didn't warn you. With that, Leah knew there was no salvaging this. She stood, ring box clenched in her hand, and walked toward the exit, leaving Jace's mocking laughter echoing behind her. Outside, the city lights of Manhattan glimmered against the inky sky. Leah caught her reflection in the diner's window, eyes brimming with tears, hair tousled by the wind, shoulders slumped in heartbreak. She felt both foolish and furious, at Jace, for humiliating her, and at herself, for not seeing his true colors sooner. She hurried away from the diner, ignoring the pitying looks of passers-by. Her phone buzzed in her coat pocket. It was Tiana calling again. Leah couldn't bear to answer. Her mind whirled with Jace's cruel words. You'll never amount to anything, he'd said. A lump formed in her throat. Her feet carried her to a nearby bench in front of a shuttered bakery. She sat, chest heaving with quiet sobs, and thought back to what she never got to tell him. A prestigious fashion house in Paris had just accepted her application for an internship, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to learn from the industry's best. She had been dying to share the news with him. Now, she realized with stunning clarity, he would never have celebrated her successes. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, and a car horn honked. New York never slept, it roared on, indifferent to her heartbreak. Closing her eyes, Leah took a deep breath. She reached for her phone, wanting to call her mother, maybe get some reassurance. But a flicker of pride stopped her. She wasn't ready to explain the painful truth just yet. The cold wind stung her cheeks, but it also seemed to sharpen her resolve. If Jace saw no value in her, so be it. She still had her internship, her ambition, and a dream to see her designs on runways across the world. Jace might laugh at that dream, but Leah was finished seeking approval from someone who belittled her. She rose from the bench, shoulders squared. Tomorrow, she would finalize her travel arrangements. Jace would remain ignorant of her plans. He'd never know what he'd thrown away. Leah allowed a single tear to slip down her cheek before brushing it away. Her heart might be shattered, but she refused to remain broken. 3 weeks later, Leah gazed out the airplane window at the city of Paris unfolding beneath her. Its grand boulevards and iconic skyline gleamed, welcoming her to a new chapter of her life. She clutched the passport in her lap, heart fluttering with both excitement and trepidation. The internship with Atelier Duval, one of the most prestigious fashion houses in Europe, felt almost surreal. She remembered reading about Madame Lucille Duval in magazines, an avant-garde designer who broke every rule of haute couture and redefined modern elegance. Leah had admired her from afar, never imagining she'd one day work under her guidance. Bonjour, greeted a polite driver who held a sign with her name at the airport terminal. Leah followed him, her luggage in tow. The ride to her temporary apartment in the Marais district was a blur of stunning architecture and cobblestone streets. Her heart soared at the possibilities. She had never felt so liberated in her entire life. Here, nobody knew her heartbreak. Nobody would look at her with pity. That evening, Leah unpacked in her small loft. It was modest, just a bedroom, a kitchen nook, and large windows that offered a breathtaking view of the Eiffel Tower. She taped up her designs on the wall and ran a gentle hand over the outlines she'd drawn a million times, now longing to bring them to life. Tiana had sent a dozen frantic messages. Where are you? Are you safe? Are you okay? Leah responded with a single text, I'm in Paris. Following my dreams. I'll explain soon. Then she switched off her phone. She wanted to savor the moment, free from Jace's negativity, free from anyone's expectations. Tomorrow, she would meet her new mentors at Atelier Duval. She felt an undercurrent of terror. What if she wasn't good enough? What if Jace was right? But she swallowed those fears. She'd come too far to turn back now. With the glittering Eiffel Tower lighting her path, Leah committed fully to this new beginning. Leah's first week at Atelier Duval was a whirlwind of measured chaos. From the hushed corridors scented with expensive perfumes to the bustling design studio, every corner hummed with creativity. Madame Duval was both intimidating and nurturing, scolding Leah for minor mistakes one moment and praising her innovative ideas the next. It was on a busy Wednesday afternoon that Leah met Kai Donovan. He was a freelance photographer who frequently collaborated with fashion houses around Europe. She was in the fabric room, searching for a particular silk chiffon, when a voice behind her asked, "Looking for something in particular?" Turning, Leah found herself face to face with a tall, lean man dressed casually, camera slung around his neck. She realized instantly he wasn't just any staff member. There was a sense of easy confidence in his posture, a warmth in his brown eyes. Yes. Silk chiffon and lavender, she replied, flustered by the unexpected encounter. Kai grinned and offered his hand. Kai Donovan. Photographer. I was just sent in here to photograph the new textiles for the upcoming collection. Mind if I help you hunt down that lavender chiffon? Leah shook his hand. Leah Monroe. Intern, design intern, she amended. She appreciated the kindness in his gaze. She had not often seen such genuine warmth since arriving in Paris, where everyone seemed to be on a mission to prove themselves. Together, they searched the shelves, exchanging small talk. Kai spoke of his journeys around the world, shooting fashion weeks in Milan, editorial spreads in Tokyo. Leah confessed her love for designing, how she hoped to create pieces that told stories, bridging the gap between art and apparel. Kai paused, a roll of lavender chiffon in his hands. You talk about fashion like it's magic, he remarked, offering a bright smile. I'd love to see your sketches sometime. Heat rose to her cheeks. I'm just an intern, but I'm working on my own ideas. Maybe one day, she said softly. A subtle spark of kinship ignited between them, a creative bond formed in the heart of the atelier. There was no mocking, no dismissive sneer. Just mutual respect. As Kai walked away to continue his photo shoot, Leah felt a renewed surge of hope. Perhaps Paris would not only nurture her dreams, but also introduce her to friends, maybe more, who believed in her potential. Over the next few weeks, Leah found herself pulling late nights at the atelier. She sewed sample hems, organized fabric swatches, and meticulously sketched designs based on Madame Duval's instructions. While the pace was grueling, she relished every moment. One evening, Leah was crouched over a drafting table, reviewing her personal collection of sketches, a concept she called Urban Daydream. Inspired by her experiences in heartbreak, the designs fused edgy street style with dreamy, ethereal elements. She had no plans to show them to anyone yet. She still wrestled with self-doubt, her old insecurities echoing in her mind. Wow, came a familiar voice behind her. These are incredible. Leah spun around to see Kai Donovan, camera bag slung over his shoulder. She hastily tried to cover her sketches. Kai! This is just a personal project, she stammered. He flashed a reassuring smile. I'm not trying to steal your secrets, he teased, gently lifting one of the sketches. Leah, you've got something special here. Embarrassed yet flattered, she sighed. I'm not sure if it's ready for anyone's eyes yet. Kai frowned thoughtfully. I've seen a lot of designs in my travels. Trust me, you've got a raw authenticity. He took a seat and thumbed through a few more sketches. Look, my photography website's been blowing up lately, and I've got a decent following on social media. If you ever decide to do a lookbook, I'd be honored to shoot it. Leah felt her heart swell. A lookbook? Me? It's too soon. Kai shrugged, eyes sparkling. You never know. Sometimes, the right time is now. Let the world see what you can do. His words resonated with her. Images of Jace's mocking face flitted through her mind. He'd said she'd never amount to anything. Yet here was Kai, someone who barely knew her, but believed in her. They spent the next hour discussing how to transform Leah's sketches into tangible pieces. By the time they left the atelier, Leah felt a renewed fire in her spirit. She would create a capsule collection and let Kai's lens bring it to life. Perhaps her heartbreak was the catalyst she needed to soar higher than she'd ever imagined. 2 months later, Leah could hardly recognize herself, or her life. Her days began at dawn and ended well past midnight, juggling intern tasks and frantically sewing her own designs in her cramped apartment. She honed her craft under Madame Duval's watchful eye at the atelier by day, and by night, she poured her heart into urban daydream, carefully constructing each piece of her capsule collection. Each garment spoke to a part of her journey. One top featured intricate embroidery reminiscent of heartbreak, while another dress used bold, metallic accents symbolizing resilience. Despite the exhaustion etched in her face, Leah glowed with a new sense of purpose. She noticed changes in herself beyond just creative growth. Her posture straightened, her gaze sharpened. The shy young woman who once feared rejection was evolving into a force who demanded respect, starting with how she viewed herself. Kai played a huge role in her metamorphosis. He photographed her process, capturing behind-the-scenes footage for a potential mini-documentary. He introduced her to stylists, makeup artists, and other creative collaborators. And through it all, he became a loyal confidant. Over late-night coffee breaks, they shared stories about life and loss. Kai confided how a former partner had betrayed him during a crucial stage in his career, leaving him stranded and nearly bankrupt. Leah empathized, finally sharing a few sparse details about Jace's hurtful dismissal. Kai's expression darkened with sympathy. "No one should treat you like that," he said firmly, taking her hand. She felt the warmth of his sincerity seep through her. As the final garments for her collection took shape, Leah also refined her own personal style. Gone were the baggy sweaters and timid stares. She experimented with statement pieces, wore bolder lip colors, and carried herself with a quiet confidence that turned heads wherever she went. Paris, in its timeless allure, seemed to nurture her transformation, but Leah's internal drive was the true catalyst. She was ready to reclaim every dream that Jace had tried to dismiss, and unleash them upon the world. While Leah thrived in Paris, Jace Turner felt his life sliding downhill, albeit slowly at first. One evening, bored and scrolling through Instagram, he came across an unexpected sight: Leah Monroe's face. She was tagged in a post shared by a famous American influencer, who raved about an up-and-coming designer showcasing bold yet dreamy pieces from a new collection. At first, Jace thought it had to be some bizarre coincidence. But there she was, Leah, her hair styled in loose waves, wearing an outfit that looked straight off the runway. Her skin glowed with a confidence he'd never noticed before. The post mentioned her capsule collection going viral online. Jace's heart pounded as he read the adoring comments from fans worldwide. People were praising her creativity, calling her the next big thing in fashion. The memory of her tearful expression in the diner flashed in his mind. He remembered dismissing her dreams, telling her she'd never make it. A pang of regret twisted in his gut, but he shook it off. Days turned into weeks. Leah's name began popping up in more places: style blogs, influencer stories, even short clips on TikTok highlighting her work. Each time Jace stumbled upon her success, it was like a slap to the face. He was still in the same spot: diner visits, half-baked business ideas, and no real forward momentum. One night, fueled by cheap beer and mounting envy, he typed a short message to her on social media: "Hey, Leah. It's been a while. I see you're doing great things. Congrats. Would love to catch up." He hovered over the send button for a moment, remembering how brutally he had dismissed her. But old habits of entitlement and arrogance prevailed. He sent the message. He waited, refreshing the page obsessively. No reply. Leah had left him on read. Jace couldn't stop replaying the moment she had walked out of the diner, ring box clutched in her hand, eyes brimming with tears. He'd laughed at her, and now, the world was laughing at him. Leah was sipping an espresso and flipping through fabric catalogs when she saw the notification, a direct message from Jace Turner. Her breath caught in her throat, fingers trembling slightly as she opened it. The short note read, "Hey, Leah. It's been a while. I see you're doing great things. Congrats. Would love to catch up." Her immediate reaction was a flash of anger. Catch up? After mocking her proposal, after telling her she'd never amount to anything, this was how he approached her success? She exhaled, setting her cup down with a clatter that startled a nearby intern. "Vous allez bien, mademoiselle?" the intern asked in French, concern on her face. Leah mustered a quick smile and nodded before turning her attention back to the phone. She contemplated responding with a witty, biting remark, maybe something that reminded him of how he'd dismissed her dreams. Then she considered ignoring him altogether. "Hey, everything okay?" Kai's voice pulled her from her swirling emotions. He just walked in, camera in hand, noticing the tension in Leah's posture. She hesitated, then showed him Jace's message. Kai raised an eyebrow. "Ha. So he's crawling back now, is he?" Leah pursed her lips. "It seems that way." "What do you want to do?" Kai asked softly. She thought for a moment. Old Leah might have responded right away, craving some sort of closure or validation. But new Leah, the Leah who had blossomed in Paris, saw no benefit in rehashing old wounds. She glanced at Kai and made her decision. Without another word, she archived the chat. No reply, no acknowledgement. Her heart pounded with a mixture of adrenaline and relief. She wanted Jace to understand that she was no longer the insecure woman he'd laughed at in a dingy diner. Kai nodded in approval, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Proud of you," he said quietly. Leah felt an unexpected lightness in her chest. She realized she'd finally moved past Jace's hold on her. No matter what he tried now, she wasn't looking back. She was too busy looking forward, toward her next big opportunity, her growing influence in the fashion world, and the people who genuinely supported her dream. It was nearing midnight, and the cobblestone streets of Paris glimmered under soft streetlights. Leah and Kai shared a late dinner at a little cafe near the Seine, the hum of lively conversation merging with the gentle lapping of the river. Freshly brewed coffee and half-eaten plates of creme brulee decorated their tiny table. Leah felt a warmth in Kai's presence that had begun to shift from mere friendship to a delicate, unspoken emotion that hovered between them. He spoke with an earnestness that drew her in, made her forget the rest of the world. Tonight, however, he seemed uneasy. "You okay?" she asked, carefully setting her spoon on the saucer. Kai hesitated, running a hand through his wavy hair. His voice lowered, as if he feared someone else might hear. "I want to be honest about something, about why I came to Paris." Leah tilted her head, curiosity piqued. "I was dating someone back in Los Angeles. We built a photography business together. She was the face of our brand, lured in new clients, and I did all the creative work." He sighed, eyes distant. "One day, she walked away with most of our money and the client list. I had to start over from scratch. That's how I ended up traveling, looking for new projects overseas. And eventually, I landed here in Paris." Leah reached across the table to gently squeeze his hand. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her voice laden with understanding. Kai exhaled. "I guess I'm telling you this because I see that you're still healing from your own heartbreak. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm just drawn to you because we share that pain." He paused, swallowing hard. "But it's more than that. I admire your strength, your passion, and how you've rebuilt yourself from the ground up. I care about you, Leah. More than as a friend." Her heart thudded in her chest. Part of her was scared to open up again, to risk being hurt. But another part of her felt an undeniable spark with Kai, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She laced her fingers through his. Kai. I care about you too, she whispered, her cheeks warming. Thank you for trusting me with your story. We'll figure out what this is, together. For a moment, they sat there in companionable silence, the lights of the city reflecting in the river, offering the promise of a future that might finally be free from the shadows of the past. Just a month later, Leah stood on a bustling sidewalk in Paris, her phone pressed against her ear. On the other end was Madame Duval, who spoke with a trembling excitement. Mon Dieu, Leah, you did it. People are raving about your capsule collection. And I have another surprise, an invitation for you to headline a show at Fashion Week here in Paris. The announcement left Leah momentarily speechless. She could see her reflection in a chic store window, bright eyes, parted lips, and a stunned expression. Madame Duval, I'm honored, she managed to say. Is this for real? Madame Duval let out an impatient sigh. Of course it's real, darling. This will be an intimate show, but industry heavyweights will be there. You must start preparations immediately. Leah ended the call, an electric thrill rushing through her. Fashion Week. It was every designer's dream. She'd been working tirelessly to get her designs noticed, but a slot in such a high-profile event felt almost surreal. She thought back to the time she hesitated to even share her sketches, now the world wanted to see more of them. She dashed back to the atelier, practically floating on air. Kai was shooting some behind-the-scenes footage in the back room. The second she walked in, he could sense her excitement. What happened? He asked, setting his camera down. I got invited to headline a show at Fashion Week, she burst out, practically bouncing on her toes. Kai broke into a grin that lit up his entire face. Leah, that's amazing. He pulled her into a spontaneous hug, momentarily forgetting the professionals hustling around them. I'm so proud of you. Over the next few days, the planning began. Leah's excitement intermingled with nerves. She had to create a cohesive collection that would captivate the critics and set her apart from other emerging designers. Late nights became the new normal again, but this time, adrenaline fueled her stitches. She was one step closer to the dream she'd once whispered about in a cramped studio apartment. Jace's mocking laugh no longer had a place in her mind. She was ready to prove, first to herself, and then to the world, that she belonged on that runway. On the morning of her New York showcase, an opportunity that arose after her Paris success, Leah walked into the cavernous event hall feeling both exhilarated and anxious. The bright stage lights illuminated a catwalk stretching out like a promise of dreams fulfilled. Models rehearsed their walks in her cutting-edge designs, stylists huddled around racks of clothing, and the air hummed with the energy of an upcoming spectacle. She went backstage to meet with the show's director, feeling the sweet rush of achievement. Her phone buzzed with texts from Tiana, who was in the audience. Girl, you better slay that runway, read one excited message. But as Leah slipped her phone back into her pocket, she turned and nearly collided with a familiar figure. Leah? Jace stood before her, a VIP pass dangling from his neck. He looked oddly out of place in the world of high fashion. Her heart lurched, but she quickly mustered composure. Jace? What? How did you even get here? He flashed a nervous, almost sheepish grin. I have connections. I just wanted to see what you've accomplished. She held her clipboard tightly, struggling to maintain a professional facade. Her staff bustled around them, oblivious to the emotional shock of this reunion. You shouldn't be here, she said, her tone icy. I'm about to start an important show, and you being here is distracting. Jace attempted a contrite smile. I know. Look, I'm sorry about how things ended. I was an idiot. But can we talk after your show? Just catch up? Leah swallowed a lump of frustration, flashing back to the cruel words he had spat at her in that diner. She felt the unwavering gaze of a model waiting for directions. Duty called. She turned away and addressed the staff, ignoring Jace's plea. "We need final checks on hair and makeup, please." As the minutes to showtime ticked down, Leah debated how best to handle Jace's sudden reappearance. She had soared so far beyond the person she'd been with him, yet a lingering hurt still weighed on her chest. Before she could decide, the show director called her over to finalize details. Jace faded into the background, overshadowed by the bright lights and the unstoppable momentum of her success. When the runway lights finally blazed to life, Leah realized she was stronger than any ghost from her past. The show must go on, and so must she. The next day, Leah woke up to a flurry of notifications on her phone. Mentions on social media were exploding. At first, she assumed it was just more buzz from her successful showcase. Then she saw Jace's name trending. Curious and a bit apprehensive, Leah clicked on a link. It led to a TikTok video Jace had posted. In it, he wore a contrite expression and addressed the camera in a shaky voice. "I messed up," he began, voice tinged with regret. "Leah Monroe used to be my girlfriend. I said some truly horrible things to her. I doubted her dreams. I belittled her ambitions, and I lost someone amazing." Leah's eyebrows shot up. She could see from the background that he was recording in a small apartment. Nothing about it looked staged or polished, it had the raw feel of a genuine confession. Still, she couldn't shake the suspicion that this might be a play for clout. "I know she might never forgive me," Jace continued, his eyes flicking away from the camera as if fighting tears. "But I want everyone to know that Leah Monroe deserves every bit of success she's getting. If you have a dream, don't let anyone, including someone like me, tell you otherwise." The video cut off abruptly, as though Jace lacked the courage to say more. Leah scrolled through the comments, feeling a mixture of disbelief and irritation. "Oh wow, look who's crawling back. This is so performative. He just wants attention now that she's famous. Saying sorry on TikTok? Weak." Part of her wanted to appreciate the fact that he was finally acknowledging his fault. Yet the cynic in her suspected he was merely capitalizing on her viral status. She exhaled, set her phone aside, and tried to focus on a design she needed to finish for an upcoming brand collaboration. But Jace's public apology lurked in her mind. By lunchtime, reporters and media outlets had started reaching out, asking for her statement. Instead of engaging, Leah kept silent. She had no desire to be sucked into Jace's online redemption arc. She had built her empire piece by piece, thread by thread. She wasn't about to let him co-opt her success for his own narrative. The next morning, Leah's notifications were on fire again, but this time, the internet's wrath had turned on Jace. Influencers, fashion enthusiasts, and even random bystanders were calling him out for trying to ride Leah's fame wave. "He's just trying to trend off her name. So typical. Mock her when she's down, then claim to apologize when she's up. If he really cared, he'd apologize in private. Posting a TikTok is just for show." Leah's DMs flooded with supportive messages. Her fans wanted her to know they had her back. Even Tiana texted, "Girl, the audacity of this man. SMH. Keep shining, sis." The chatter became so loud that mainstream media outlets started picking up the story. A popular celebrity gossip site ran a headline, "From rejection to global sensation, the Leah Monroe story, and the ex who wants another chance?" Leah could hardly believe the spectacle. While she had daydreamed about success, she never expected her personal life to become tabloid fodder. She called Kai, voice shaky with a cocktail of anxiety and annoyance. "I hate this so much," she confessed, pacing her Paris apartment. "I never asked for my heartbreak to become a trending topic." Kai offered a soothing tone. "I know. But remember, the world loves a Cinderella story. And, well, you kind of are one, minus the prince." He chuckled softly, then grew serious. "Look, your fans love you. They're standing up for you. That's not a bad thing, right?" She sighed. I just don't want to dwell on the past. I've moved on. I get it, Kai said. Maybe you can make a statement, redirect focus to your work, your collection, your message of empowerment. Leah considered this. It might be the right time to use her growing platform to inspire others, rather than let it become a platform for Jace's redemption. She opened her social media app and began drafting a post. Something simple, yet assertive. I am grateful for the love and support. My journey is about passion, resilience, and believing in yourself, no matter who doubts you. Let's keep building dreams together. The post went live, and immediately, a surge of positive messages flooded in. Leah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. Her story was no longer about Jace's betrayal. It was about her triumph, and how she could inspire others in the process. A week after her post, an unexpected email arrived in Leah's inbox. It was from the CEO of a major global brand, one with billions in revenue, known for celebrity endorsements and massive marketing campaigns. The subject line read, "Collaboration Opportunity." Her heart fluttered as she opened it. In formal yet enthusiastic language, the brand offered a partnership to design a limited edition line under Leah's name. The potential payout was astronomical. They promised full creative freedom, with brand oversight, a massive marketing budget, and a chance to catapult her status into the stratosphere of household name designers. Leah sat back in her office chair, stunned. For years, she had idolized designers who partnered with such global brands. Now, she was being handed an open door into that very elite circle. But as she read through the finer details of the contract, doubts flickered. The brand had a notorious history of mass production with questionable environmental practices. They had faced public backlash for exploiting overseas labor and contributing to excessive waste. Tiana's voice piped in over a video call. "Girl, are you seeing those zeros? That's a life-changing amount of money." Leah chewed her lip, scanning the contract. It is. But their track record with sustainability worries me. My designs are about telling real stories, not just pumping out fast fashion. Tiana nodded. I get it. But this could also give you leverage. Maybe you can negotiate better terms. Influence them to adopt greener practices for your line. You'd be the perfect spokesperson to pivot their image. The brand's representative wanted an answer within the week. Leah's mind buzzed with the possibilities and responsibilities such a deal would bring. She knew that acceptance might compromise her eco-friendly vision unless she fought hard for it. But turning down a deal of this magnitude could stall her momentum. Was she prepared to lose the opportunity of a lifetime just to stick to her principles? Setting the email aside, Leah breathed deeply. This wasn't just about money or fame. It was about the legacy she wanted to leave in the fashion world. And she had until Friday to make her decision. Meanwhile, Kai also faced a professional crossroad. The photography agency he'd once co-founded, before his ex took most of it, was offering him a second shot, this time in Tokyo, where the market for fashion photography was booming. The idea of traveling to yet another country and rebuilding his brand from scratch appealed to him, but he felt torn. He confided in Leah while they strolled along the Seine one crisp evening. They want me there for at least a year, he explained, footsteps echoing on the cobblestones. They'll provide a studio, top-of-the-line equipment, and a steady salary. He paused, looking at her with earnest eyes. But I'm not sure if I should go. Leah's chest tightened. She knew how much photography meant to him, how it was more than just a job. It was his art, his lifeblood. Kai, this is huge, she said, forcing a smile. An incredible opportunity. Why wouldn't you go? He kicked a stray pebble into the river. Because I don't want to leave you. We're finally getting somewhere, both personally and professionally. I've been shooting all your behind-the-scenes footage, we've got a rhythm. And beyond that, he trailed off, his gaze flicking to the water. Leah took his hand, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers. Kai, your dreams matter too. I appreciate everything you've done for me. But I can't hold you back. She hesitated, heart heavy. You should go if this is what you want. He studied her face, searching for the unspoken words. What if what I want is to stay by your side? Emotion welled in her eyes. I can't promise I won't be consumed by my work. This upcoming collaboration, if I sign it, is going to be all-consuming. I'd hate for you to pass up a great opportunity only to resent me later. Kai slipped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. They both stared at the glittering lights dancing on the water's surface. The future seemed so bright yet uncertain. They stood at a crossroads, each with a chance to catapult their careers to new heights, but at the risk of losing the fragile, budding love they'd found in each other. A quiet understanding passed between them. There was no immediate resolution, just the underlying tension of a decision they'd both have to make, individually and together. Friday arrived with a restless dawn for Leah. She sat at her desk in the atelier, the brand collaboration contract looming on the screen. Over the past few days, she had tried to negotiate stricter environmental guidelines, better labor conditions, and a capped production run. The brand's legal team made vague concessions, but each one felt half-hearted. Madame Duval offered her perspective. It's rare to receive such an offer at your stage, Leah, she said, pacing the room with her usual dramatic flair. Consider the possibilities. This brand can open doors. But do not compromise your vision. A designer's identity must stay intact. Despite Madame Duval's words, Leah felt the subtle push. Big brand deals often meant big prestige for the atelier as well. She also knew Tiana and her family were rooting for her financial stability. But late at night, memories of her heartbreak and her vow to remain true to herself came flooding back. She'd promised that if she ever got the chance to bring her style to a global stage, she would do it ethically, no shortcuts, no exploitation. Leah scrolled through her social media feed, noticing messages from aspiring designers who looked up to her. You inspired me to keep dreaming, one read. Others wrote about how her story gave them the courage to apply for design school or stand up against naysayers. Leah realized that if she caved now, she risked betraying not just her own ideals, but the trust of those who believed in her. With resolve tightening in her chest, she fired off an email. I deeply appreciate this once-in-a-lifetime offer, but unfortunately, I cannot sign unless the terms guarantee complete transparency in labor practices and sustainable materials. She ended the message with a polite deadline, giving them 24 hours to either meet her demands or she'd walk away. Then she turned her thoughts to Kai. He was packing for a short trip to Tokyo to scope out the location. Before he left, he pressed a small box into her hands. Open it if you start to doubt us, he said quietly, then kissed her forehead and walked out. Leah held the box, heart pounding, wondering what awaited them both on the other side of their individual choices. Leah's phone buzzed at dawn with the brand's reply. She opened the email, heart hammering. The words were polite but firm. After careful consideration, we cannot incorporate all of these demands at this time. We must therefore retract our collaboration offer. We wish you the best of luck. She felt a momentary sting. This was a billion-dollar brand rejecting her. Yet, a wave of relief swiftly followed. She had stood her ground. She had refused to compromise her ethics. True, she was relinquishing immediate fame and fortune, but she was walking away with her artistic integrity intact. That same day, Leah arrived at a televised panel discussion about emerging fashion entrepreneurs. She wore one of her own designs, a sleek jacket embroidered with a single rose bursting through concrete, symbolic of resilience. Cameras flashed as she stepped on stage. Midway through the interview, the moderator asked about rumors of a big brand collaboration. Instead of dodging, Leah smiled confidently and leaned into the microphone. Yes, I had an offer. But I believe in sustainable, transparent practices. If that can't be guaranteed, the partnership isn't right for me. It's as simple as that. Her words reverberated across social media within minutes. A wave of admiration flooded in. Finally, a designer who cares about more than just money. This is what true passion looks like. Huge respect to Leah Monroe for standing up for what's right. Among the sea of support, Jace Turner's name popped up again. He was in the audience, apparently lurking in the back rows. After the panel, he approached Leah, wearing a forced smile. "Hey, amazing speech," he said, trying to sound earnest. Leah held his gaze, her face composed. "Thank you, Jace. I'm glad you enjoyed it." He hesitated. "Look, Leah, can we talk? Privately?" The camera crews were still lingering, some fans gathered around hoping for a quick selfie. Without faltering, Leah squared her shoulders and spoke in a measured, firm tone. "Jace, I appreciate your presence, but we have nothing to discuss. You once told me I'd never amount to anything, and now I've chosen a path that honors my beliefs. I'm happy with where I am, and I don't need your validation." The onlookers exchanged glances, some filming on their phones. Jace's cheeks reddened, a flicker of embarrassment crossing his features. Without another word, Leah turned away, the crowd parting like the sea to let her pass. This time, she wasn't the one who felt rejected, she was the one walking away, her head held high, reclaiming the narrative of her life. Days later, as Leah finalized details for launching her own eco-friendly fashion house, she couldn't stop thinking about Kai. His texts from Tokyo were encouraging but somewhat distant. "Things look good here. I might have to stay longer than expected." She felt a pang of worry at the prospect of losing him to the allure of a new city. But Leah forged ahead, channeling any lingering anxieties into her creative process. She established a small team of equally passionate designers, all committed to eco-friendly fabrics, fair wages, and transparency. They rented a bright loft space in Paris to serve as their design hub. She named her brand Monroe. One morning, while reviewing fabric samples, Tiana, who had flown in for support, nudged Leah's shoulder. "Look who just walked in," she whispered. Leah glanced up, heart skipping a beat. Kai Donovan stood at the door, suitcase by his side, eyes scanning the room until they locked onto her. Without hesitation, Leah dropped the samples and rushed into his arms. "Does this mean you're staying?" she asked, tears of relief prickling her eyes. Kai nodded, pressing his forehead gently against hers. "I realized something important in Tokyo. I don't just love photography, I love telling stories with someone who inspires me. That someone is you, Leah. I don't want to spend a year or more away, building another brand, when the person who matters most is here." Leah felt a burst of happiness surge through her chest. "You gave up that opportunity?" she asked, a slight tremor in her voice. He shook his head. "Not exactly. I negotiated a partnership. I'll travel occasionally, but my home base will be here. With you." She threw her arms around his neck, pulling him into a tender kiss. Applause broke out among her small team, Tiana cheering the loudest. For the first time since her heartbreak with Jace, Leah's heart felt whole again. A new chapter was unfolding, one shaped by real love, real passion, and an unwavering commitment to chasing their dreams together. "Ready to create something amazing?" Leah whispered, gazing into Kai's eyes. He grinned, lifting her off her feet for a moment. "With you? Always." Years later, Leah Monroe stood on the TED Talk stage, the spotlight illuminating her elegant silhouette. The room brimmed with eager faces, and millions more watched online from across the globe. Her company, Monroe, had grown into a leading example of sustainable fashion, partnering with ethical factories worldwide. She was about to deliver a talk titled Heartbreak, Healing, and Building Empires from Broken Dreams. She began her speech by recalling the darkest moments, the diner proposal, Jace's cruel laughter, and the heartbreak that shattered her. She spoke openly about how pain became her motivator, how she nearly lost herself but found strength in the pursuit of her passion. The audience hung on her every word. Leah paused, letting the silence draw them closer. "You see," she said, voice resounding through the hall, "sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is for someone to doubt you, to underestimate your worth. Heartbreak is often the first step toward a breakthrough. When everything falls apart, you're free to rebuild something you truly believe in. She gestured to the giant screen behind her, showing images of her earliest sketches, her viral fashion show, and heartwarming shots of her team collaborating. Also in the montage were candid photos of Kai, capturing her transformations both big and small. When the talk concluded, the crowd erupted in applause. Backstage, Kai waited with a bouquet of roses and a proud smile. Leah hurried into his arms, her entire being alight with gratitude. "Sometimes I still can't believe it," she admitted, breathless from the adrenaline of her speech. "Who would have thought a rejection could lead to all this?" Kai stroked her cheek gently. "I did," he teased, a sparkle in his eye. "You were destined for greatness, heartbreak or not." In the years that followed, Leah's empire only grew. She opened eco-conscious boutiques in multiple cities, championed emerging designers through mentorship programs, and continued to innovate in a fashion world hungry for authenticity and purpose. Jace Turner tried a few more times to contact her, always overshadowed by her success and the unwavering support of her fans. He faded into the background, a footnote in the larger narrative of Leah's triumph. And so, Leah Monroe's story became a beacon of possibility. She taught millions that the stones hurled at you in anger can be used to pave your own path. In the end, she lived a fairy tale far grander than any she had dared to imagine, proving once and for all that broken dreams can be transformed into the brightest of realities, if only you refuse to let someone else define your worth. The end.